Prepare yourself for a talk radio experience like no other.
Strap yourselves in and hold on.
He stands for truth. He stands for justice. He stands for what's right. This is The Alex Jones Show. Call Alex now, toll free, at 877-590-5525. Now live from Austin, Texas, here's Alex Jones.
But right now, here is Charlton Heston, my interview with him 7 years ago, January 18th, 2001. And again, you can also read the transcript of the interview up on Infowars.com. Here is Chuck Heston, who died yesterday at 84 in Los Angeles. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, everybody knows who Charlton Heston is, and it really made the socialist in the culture war, as Mr. Heston calls it, angry when he stepped up at the plate a couple of years ago, back into the Second Amendment fight, and now his new book is amazing, The Courage to Be Free. Mr. Heston, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for loaning me your audience. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
You bet. Why did you decide to get back really involved in the Second Amendment fight at the forefront and to write this new book, The Courage to Be Free?
Well, of course, I've been involved with the Second Amendment, you could say, since I was a little kid shooting deer up in Michigan. But then I became involved more seriously with the Bill of Rights, and I came to see the importance of defending every one of the 12 articles of the Bill of Rights, of which the second is the right to keep and bear arms. And we had a lot of success with it in the last election. It was an interesting thing. The president last April felt that this would be a good time to take down the NRA. And he made a couple of brief radio addresses about it and so on, but he realized it wasn't going to fly, and so he abandoned it. And of course, what he didn't realize, as we found ourselves rather amazed to find when I was campaigning through, 8 different states and several different cities, and what the president had not realized is not just the NRA. The NRA has, just under 5,000 members now. I'm sorry, 5 million. And we campaigned on this issue in part because, of course, as again, the president did not realize that an overwhelming proportion of people in this country are hunters. Of course they are. This is hunting country. The whole continent is a hunting continent, except for New York City and L.A., of course.
Yeah, those basic.
And we had enormous success. We would gather crowds. Flint, Michigan, I think, was the biggest one. We had a rally at 7 o'clock in the morning, which meant people had to, who were going to work, of course, driving to work, had to get up to come at 6 o'clock. And we had over 3,000 people in some different venues. And in every case, the Second Amendment won the day. It was quite surprising, I have to say.
Well, we see the mainstream media, the controlled propaganda arms is what I call them, and I think they've shown themselves to deserve that title, convincing a lot of people that the average American isn't for the Second Amendment. But if you can explain to people the basics of how it's there to defend us from the street thug, the government thug, or to put food on the table, not to mention just as a sporting enjoyment and heritage, most people are actually for it. John Ashcroft right now, they're trying to confirm him. I think he would be a good...
I think he will be confirmed. I think he will make a fine Attorney General, certainly a far better one than Janet Reno.
But absolutely, that wouldn't be too hard to do. But Mr. Kennedy, who I really don't think has any room to talk, with all the skeletons in his closet, began to attack.
There's no one in the U.S. Senate that has more skeletons in his closet than Kennedy. He should be ashamed of himself. He really should. I worked for his older brother. I voted for him. I campaigned for him. But Teddy Kennedy is another piece of work entirely. But anyway, to return to this, the question of the Second Amendment, there are, for example, now 41 states that have concealed carry laws, meaning that if you pass a background check, show that you have no felony convictions of any kind, show that you demonstrate that you know how to use a firearm safely, you can then get a permit to carry a concealed carry weapon under your arm or wherever. And that's something I don't want to do because I don't fear I've used too many pistols in too many movies. They're kind of heavy to carry. But anyway, the point is that in every one of the 42 states where there is concealed carry laws, one, the murder rate, the crime rate, two, never mind the murder rate, the crime rate has dropped significantly in every one of those states. Why? Because, of course, most people who have this permit don't carry all the time. But the point is the bad guys don't know who's carrying and who isn't. So that is, of course, you don't need to have to carry then.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Charlton Heston. His new book, we'll tell you how to get it in just a second, The Courage to Be Free. It's powerful. I read about half of it this morning.
Well,
I just
thank
got
you.
it in yesterday. But going back to the Ashcroft thing, because it ties into the Second Amendment.
It does indeed.
Kennedy attacked him on the Second Amendment because, of course, Ashcroft is pro-Second Amendment, pro-Constitution, Bill of Rights. And he said, how dare you say that these guns are here to defend us from tyranny and government? Well, it turned out that Ashcroft's actual quote was basically paraphrasing Thomas Jefferson. So how dare Kennedy? Any comments on that?
I have to say, much as I admired his big brother, I think Teddy Kennedy is one of the worst members of the U.S. Senate.
You know what? Tomorrow I'm going to air all 20 minutes of the interview on a weekday show. You'll be able to hear it there. This is nowhere on the web. This interview is forgotten, lost. It has now been found. I dug through heaps of CDs and things angrily today at the office and found it. Now, remember, Ashcroft hadn't been confirmed. Bush wasn't even in office yet. Remember, Bush officially got into office January 22nd. This is 4 days before Bush got in. We had, to show I've been fair, I was thinking, Ashcroft talked about Clinton spying on people without warrants, how evil he was, how the Second Amendment was absolute, and then he got in there, and now Bush has tried to pass gun bills. So kind of embarrassing me, and in hindsight, after how bad Ashcroft turned out to be. But I tried to give Bush benefit of the doubt, and it turned out very, very bad indeed. But we get into a bunch of other police state New World Order issues in the 15 minutes or so that you haven't heard. And we'll also be posting that on YouTube in the next few days in its entirety with some images. It'll be up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Sorry to all the callers. Next weekend I'll take more calls, I promise. I did the last few weeks, but today we just had too much news. And look, to everybody out there, there are just a few thousand global elitists. They are trying to keep us all at each other's throats, divide and conquer so they can control us. And I'm begging everybody out there, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, it doesn't matter, big foundations, big money, in the name of multiculturalism are actually trying to turn us against each other so that we can basically fight with each other so the elite can rule over us. Let's stop that today, and let's keep the United States